just checking. We're going to do an online and 26 for American 631. Is there anything wrong with the localizer ILS posted today? We didn't see it, but just checking.
American 631, all should be good.
And here we are again, YouTube. Another episode in the life of a virtual airline pilot. I'm your host, Captain Mac. And as you can see, we've got a mere 5 hours and 1 minute to go until we reach that next rank. And we're going to keep chasing after it, and hopefully we'll be there pretty soon. But for now, we still got a few flights left, and we're going to go ahead and start knocking those out. Probably heard my phone there in the background. Apparently, I still haven't learned to mute it. Such is life. Let's take a look at the next flight here. Great Lakes Airlines, flight 7151A. And it's Phoenix up to Sholo, 111 miles, not too far. It is in the Beach 1900, but we are still going to use our King Air. This time we're going to use the King Air 200. I've decided I really like that MilViz, but without proper checklists, it just seems like there's some things we're not able to do properly. And I just don't think that's the way to go. So we're going to go ahead and stick with the 200 for now, but I can promise you that eventually when MilViz finishes that aircraft, and we get back to doing some of the light aircraft flights again later on in our career, we will absolutely be going back to that thing for a little while. And that's all right. That's something we can do. We're not stuck in just one aircraft. So we're going to go ahead and do that beach. Yep. Still having talking issues. Probably never going to change. We're going to do that beach King Air 200 today. Not worried about the weather again, not worried about their routes or their charts, which means we can jump right in. So I will see you over on the ACARS. Alright, a quick look at ACARS then. Let's go ahead and grab our next bid. There it is, Great Lakes Airlines, flight 7151A, Phoenix to Sholo. We're going to go ahead and use the previous route for this one, make it quick and simple. And if you're unaware, I do know that I'm going to be taking TFD, but we won't be going back to PXR. I don't know why that's set up like that, because think of it like this. If this is Phoenix right here, TFD's here, PXR's here, and then Sholo's up here. So you go out, back, and then up, and it's kind of stupid. But that's the route we're going to pick anyway, just for simplicity. If you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at my ACARS tutorial video, it'll tell you all of these different features and options and make it a lot easier to use this thing. We got 111 miles, but because we're taking the TFD departure, it's actually going to add quite a bit to our route, and I'm okay with that for this flight. So we're going to go ahead and take it on up. We're flying eastbound, so it's going to be an odd 1,000, so we're going to take it up to 23,000 feet, and I think we'll be good to go on that. So that sets up our flight. We're ready to go. Remember, this does not have to be the actual route we fly. We just have to put something in there for ACARS to track it. So we're good to go. Once we get set up in the sim, we'll click on Start Flight, and we'll be tracking and ready to rock and roll. So let's hop on over in the sim and get started. Okay, here we are, taking another outside look at this beautiful aircraft. I still absolutely love this thing. I think the King Air 350 from MilViz is awesome as well. Something about the lines of the King Air that I just love. But you guys probably don't want to hear me try to wax eloquent on the beauty of the King Air. So let's go ahead and hop on in here and let's get started on our before engine start checklist. And we know that we need to set our elevator trim to 0. As always, I'm going to rotate it up a little bit. And we can't really see it the way we want right there. If I wanted, I could hop up here and look down. And there we go. She's up a little bit. Alright, that being said, cabin doors are locked, baggage is loaded, waiting center gravity is checked, brakes are set, switches are off, landing gear handle is down. Power levers are to idle, which is where they belong. They look like they're just into that beta range there a little bit, maybe. Or not the beta range, I'm sorry. They look like maybe they wandered into the reverse range there a little, and they're not supposed to do that. It says right there, reverse only with engines running. Propeller controls need to be full forward. There they go. Condition levers in fuel cutoff, which they are, as you can see right here. Cabin signs need to be on fastened seat belts and no smoking. That's those guys there. And the cabin temperature mode needs to be off. That's this one, and it is. Vent blower goes on auto. Which one's vent blower again? There we go. Vent blower's on auto. Aft blower is off. That's this one here, and the electric heat is off as well. Check the oxygen supply pressure. It's good. It's all the way up. oxygen supply control handle. Still going with this one until somebody tells me otherwise. And now we hop over that fun little process of checking our fuel system by closing the fuel firewall valves. And we do that by clicking on them right here. That's closed, and that would be open. So we want them closed. Standby pumps come on. We listen for operation. There's one, and there's two. We can now switch on our battery. And with the fuel firewall valves, I'm sorry, as soon as we switch it on, we should have the left and right fuel pressure lights come on. That lets us know that we're lacking fuel pressure. And then when we go ahead and we open these fuel firewall valves here like that, it extinguishes those lights for us, and there we go. Then we're going to go ahead and turn the standby pumps off, and that's going to illuminate those lights again. There they are. And then we're going to alternatively check the left and right crossfeed. So when we go to the left, lights are off, and they should be off when it's to the right as well. They are. And then in the center, they're back on. Okay, that was fun. Do we get dizzy doing that? I almost get dizzy doing that. Crossfeed goes off, which it is. Auxiliary transfer switches, that's these two. They need to be on auto, which they are. And then we check our no transfer lights by clicking on them. They both illuminate, so we're good to go. Check our fuel quantity in both the main and auxiliary tanks. There's nothing in the auxiliary. I put 1,000 pounds even. We technically need 910 for the flight, so we should be good. DC volt and load meters, we're going to press to check those. So you press for volts. I know I've made the comment before, I think we're checking for this or that. You check it for volts. There's 80 volts or just shy, 79 volts in that one, 79 volts in that one. That's what we're checking. It doesn't really explain why or if there's a certain threshold we're looking for, so we just have to go with checking them. Hop down over here and check our stall warning test again. It's always obnoxious. As long as it's annoying, it's working, right? Fire detector and fire extinguishers. We've been through this about 1,000 times now. I'm not sure how to check them. Nobody's put anything in the comments, so I guess I am SOL on that for now. We're going to check the annunciator lights. All the ones on the bottom, all the ones on the top should illuminate when we press that button. And they do, so we're good there. Database has been reviewed. It is current and accurate. It is, what is it, cycle 1506. So the only thing at this point would be, on the checklist anyway, to turn the rotating beacon on. But of course, I already flipped it on because I'm starting to get a little smarter about all this. It's supposed to be on as soon as you put power onto the aircraft. So that means we're ready to jump right into the engine start checklist. So we're going to take care of that right engine first, and I'm just going to talk as I go rather than trying to explain the whole thing and then do it, because that's probably getting old by now. So right ignition and engine start switch goes on. We're looking for 12% N1, and oh, you know what? I forgot about this. In this aircraft, if you flip this switch on first, see, it's not doing anything. Okay, so if I have the auto ignition on, it does nothing. It just sits there. If I turn the auto ignition off, now it goes, see? So we're looking for 12% N1. There's 10, 11, 12, already there. Go to low idle. Fires right up. Watching for this to go to 50% or higher. As soon as it does, we want to turn that ignition switch off. It has at this point. Ignition switch is now off where it belongs. Monitor your ITT. Monitor your oil pressure and your oil temperature. That's these two down here. Both are in the green, which means we are good. Once all that's done, we can go ahead and move this to high idle. This is for the right engine only, remember. That is now in high idle. And we can reset and turn on the right generator. You click it all the way up, it resets and then flips to the on position on its own. That is done. Now we're going to watch for, where's it at here? Just want to make sure I'm in the right spot on my checklist. And we're making sure that we get a charge on the battery. Now it's supposed to go to 0.5. I remember the first couple times we did it, it came all the way up here, so I thought that was 0.5. It's not doing that anymore. But the volts, I think, are on the bottom here, and the load is on the top, and that looks like it's halfway between 0 and 10, so maybe that's our 0.5 right there. That being said, that means we can hop back down here, and we can turn the generator off and go ahead and take care of the left engine start procedure. So it's the same as the right engine. Before I start, I'll turn the auto ignition on for just the right engine, not the left. Okay, left engine ignition and start switch goes on. Looking right there, there's 9, 10, 11, and we're already past 12% on the N1, so we can go to low idle. That gets the engine fired up, gives the fuel to the engine that it needs to run. There's our 50% N1, so we can turn that left engine ignition and start switch off. And the same thing, we're going to monitor our ITT up here, and we're going to monitor our oil pressure down here and our oil temperature down here. Everything is in the green as it should be. So we can go ahead and reset the left generator and then turn it on. We can reduce the right engine to low idle, right back there where it goes now. And we can turn the right generator, thank you for the traffic announcement, right generator to reset and then on. And there we go. That is the engine start checklist. So the engines are running now. We might as well roll right into the after start and before taxi checklist. They go together. First thing we want to check is our DC voltage and load meters. What are we checking? I don't know. Generators should be charging them, right? They are higher than they were before. Remember before they were right about 79, so we're obviously charged. But there's a, and this being the load up top, I'm assuming. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Load volts. Makes sense, right? So we got a very small load on each of the batteries there, so that's good. That'll go up as we increase the things that we have turned on. Avionics master switch needs to come on now. That one's all the way back down here. Avionics master power. Flip it on. Lights are as required. Everything except for landing lights at this point. Well, we don't need ice lights and we don't need tail flood because it's daytime, so we're good there. Cabin temperature and mode, it says as required. Well, as far as I'm concerned, as required is auto. So flip it over to auto and we're good to go there. We will check the brakes as we start to taxi out. We don't need to check those right now. So what does that leave us? That leaves us the before takeoff checklist. So we'll just take one last look here, make sure we're good on everything. I've already loaded our flight plan in there, so we're good to go on that. Let's take a second here because I usually do this during my last, I tell you I'm going to do last minute checks and then I'll come back to you. Well, let me show you just a couple of those last minute checks here real quick. I like to try and remember to set the altimeter, which in Phoenix right now is 3013. So if we come over here, crank that up. Whoop, that went right to standard, didn't want that. 30, come on. There it is, 3013. I like to set my initial altitude, which in this case, we're going to just be climbing all the way up. So we're going up to 23,000. So there's 23 and bring that back to an even 230. We're good to go there. And then I usually double check my flight plan and a couple other little things. So I'm going to take care of those last couple things off screen real quick. And then I'll hop back on here and we will taxi this bad Larry out. See you in just a second.
Traffic.
Alright, let's get this show on the road then. As you know, we're not going to be using air traffic control. I'm not even going to discuss that right now. Let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to be taking runway 25 right. So there's no need to hang around here anymore. Let's get this bird rolling. ACARS is kicking. Says that our passenger loading is complete, which means we're good to go. Bring those throttles up a little bit. Maybe.
Traffic.
Yeah, she's starting to move. Yeah, I get it. There's traffic. Yeah, it's interesting. It keeps telling me there's traffic while it's on the ground. Not really sure why that is. I honestly am not certain how to set the TCAS on this thing. I guess I'll figure it out here eventually. But for now, that's all right. I'm not too worried about it. We're just going to roll this thing on out here. I won't make you watch the whole taxi because I know how boring that can get. And where we're at right now is sort of the middle of the airport. So we got to taxi all the way down to the end of the runway. Taxi light is on in case you're wondering. And those last minute checks I do, I showed you a couple of them. One of the things I did off screen was I remembered to turn on my engine anti-ice for ground operations. So you think at some point I'll actually write that on the checklist? I'm sure I will, but I haven't yet. So, yeah, don't beat me up too hard down in the comments. I'm okay if you let me know that I missed something. People miss things sometimes. We're not perfect. So, yeah, let me see if I can even straighten this thing out here. Squiggling all over the place. So we'll get this aircraft going on down here. I don't have a whole lot to say, which I know it probably comes as a complete shocker to you. because I always have something to say, but for right now, not much to say, except that I think the weather is way off, because I'm in Phoenix right now, and I'm here to tell you it's a lot cloudier than that. So I'm not really sure why it's showing the weather like that, but it is what it is. I'll deal with it. It's not a big deal. I'm going to taxi on down here, actually trying to get this thing moving because it's being crazy slow, and I will see you at the before takeoff checklist. And here we are at the end of the runway, ready to take care of this before takeoff checklist real quick so we can get this bird in the air. Need to make sure that we arm our auto feather switch, that guy right there. Propeller feathering manual check. Now I always do this off screen, but I went ahead and saved it for you this time. And all that is, you're going to manually feather the throttle, the propellers, just like that. And you should hear a pretty decent change in the pitch. However, you don't really hear it on this one. In the Milviz King Air 350, you hear it really well. But we don't hear it so much on this one, so we'll just have to deal with it. Fuel quantity, obviously we want to check it. We're good on our fuel. We're right about where we started. We haven't used much yet. We want to make sure our bleed air valves are open. That's these two here. Annunciator lights are extinguished or considered. They're all extinguished. We've considered these ones down here. The master caution came on when I feathered the props. Left and right engine anti-ice, as well as the left and right auto ignition. Those are the lights down there. Transponder has been checked. It's right here. 1200. We're staying on that code for now. Ice protection as required. The only ice protection we need right now is the engine anti-ice, which is for ground operations. PFD attitude and heading are normal and appropriate. GPS is valid. It doesn't say LOI on there or not enunciated. And the standby attitude indicator is erect and normal with no fail flag in view. These are not fail flags. That says GS and that says LOC for glide slope and localizer, which we have not intercepted one nor even tuned one into the radio. So it makes sense. And that's it. We're ready for takeoff. So I always like to go over this in my head. I might as well go over it with you after takeoff, obviously on a positive rate of climb. Landing gear needs to come up. Flaps will come up when we have enough speed, and then yaw damper will come on. We'll set our climb power at 1800 RPMs, turn on the prop sync, and the auto feather will come off. And then there's a couple other things on there, but I just like to go over that real quick so I know in my head what I need to do as I take off here so that I can kind of flow through it and then worry about the checklist afterwards. And I'll forget a couple of those things, and that's why we have the checklist next to us. Alright, so we're good to go. Enough talky talk. I've been running my mouth long enough. Let's go ahead and pull this guy out onto the runway. Oh yeah, once again, guess what? I should write it on there. Landing lights need to come on before we pull onto the runway, right? Okay, landing lights are on. And we're good to go. And I'm trying to use that beta range a little bit to help control my speed. And because my throttles kind of stick and hop around a little bit, it doesn't work as well as it should, but we're good to go. Alright, so pulling onto the runway here, trying to get her lined up around the center. We are going to do a rolling takeoff. So we're just going to start rolling those throttles up. Remember, we want to make sure that we do not over torque our engines. So as we roll these throttles forward, we're not going to quite run them to max. And we've got tons of runway to work with, so it shouldn't be a problem. Our rotation speed is 94 knots. That little bit of shake you see there, that's from the props sort of settling in. Not sure why they do that or if they do that in the real aircraft, but there you have it. We're already up to 90 knots and we're good to go to rotate. So let's pull her up. Forgot to jiggle that yoke there that time. Positive rate of climb, gear up. She's coming up. We'll be making a left turn here shortly. Let's keep that nose down just a little bit. We got enough speed to bring the flaps up, so the flaps are coming up now. And we'll just keep her from yawing to the left there. Roll over here. And let's turn our yaw damper on if I can get squared away here. Yaw damper is on at this point. And we're ready to go right into the climb. So prop RPMs back to 1800. Just trying to fly the airplane at the same time. So let's get them close to 1800. That's pretty good right there, so we'll go with that for the moment. And we can leave our power as it is. We do want to put the prop sync on at this point. So prop sync comes on. Auto feather is going to come off. That's this one right here. And let's go ahead and set our autopilot. First things first, we're going to turn on the nav function here. I'm sorry, autopilot on, nav function, hit altitude, and then vertical speed so that we can adjust our vertical speed as we see fit. Right now we're 2,500 feet per minute. I like that, so we're going to stay there. Nav function is turned on. However, we are not on an intercept heading. So let's go ahead and let's change our heading here. If I can get it to move. Come on now. There we go. And we'll just make a right or a left turn here. I'm sorry, I still don't know my left from my right. Hit the heading button. Get her turning to the left. You can see on our GPS here, this is the direction we need to go. And let's go ahead and bring that vertical speed down a little bit. Bring it down to 1,500 feet per minute until we get a little more speed going. Looking good there. We'll need a little bit more on that heading turn there. We want to turn past our desired direction so that we can intercept. Then we'll fly her on around here. I'll have you stick with me here for just another minute or two. We won't keep you on here too long. Just want to get this bad boy lined up. Last couple of things here real quick. Taxi lights can come off. Landing lights will stay on until we cross 10,000. Cabin signs remain as required. Cabin pressurization check. We'll do that here in just a second. Let's go ahead and finish getting this set up. Now let's see here. We've got heading going there. Let's see if the nav is armed now. You can see it's lit up here and it says GPS here. So if I stay on this heading, it should intercept that course on its own. So that being said, let's hop down here real quick. Let's take care of our cabin pressure. We want to rotate the aircraft altitude, this one right here, up to where we're going at 23,000 feet. And there's 23,000 feet. We'll leave the rate of climb normal. Rudder boost can come on. That's my bad. Should have come on during the run-up, but I didn't do the run-up. I know. Shame on me. You guys still need to let me know if you ever want me to do the run-up on this thing. It does take a little while. It probably takes almost 5 minutes. But that's it for our climb checklist. Aft blower needs to go off. Let's hop down here and make sure our aft blower is off. That was the last item on there. It was still off. I never saw a checklist item to turn it on. I know there is one where you turn it on within the engine run-up. Engine anti-ice can come off at this point. We're no longer on the ground, so we don't need it. We're not flying into icing conditions. All that being said, we're looking really good here. We are over at seat. We just went a little over torque, so what do we want to do? We'll pull those throttles back and get that torque down a little bit. I do want to keep them up there pretty high for the climb. Even out our throttles. Now we're not over torquing anymore. And that's it. Climb checklist complete, folks. And I will see you up at cruise altitude when we get up to 23,000 feet. Shouldn't be but a few minutes here, so I'll see you shortly. Alright, as you can see, we're just coming up on our cruise altitude here, and we want to go ahead and take care of this cruise checklist. The first thing we need to do is set our power in accordance with the cruise power tables, which I have pulled up over here on my other screen. And we want to set our torque at 2,230 RPMs, pretty close. And we're going to do, I'm sorry, not our torque. Yeah, my brain's not working. Yeah, torque at 2,230 RPMs in our, or 2,230 foot-pounds. There's the problem. See, I keep saying RPMs. The RPMs is for the props. The props are going to be at 1,800 RPMs for this one. That's the table I pulled up for minus 10 degrees Celsius outside. We're pretty close to 1,800 already, so we're just going to pull them back a little bit. Try and get them as close as I can to 1,800. You can see they kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. We'll just ease them on down there. A little more. Let's see where that puts us. We're pretty close there. Bring it back just a hair more. That should hopefully put us really close. Yep, that's in fact, that's spot on. 1,800 RPMs, and we want our torque to be 2,230 foot-pounds, which we're not even close to that at the moment. So let's go bring those up a little bit. We want to watch it because they'll come up and then they'll over-torque at 2,240 pounds. We don't want to over-torque them. So just keeping an eye on them here, trying to even them out. One's a little higher than the other. That happens to me quite a bit. And let's see. Come on. We need to inch that guy up there a little bit. Let's see where that puts us. It's going to put us pretty close. 2,200 and change anyway. And that's probably going to be about the best we're going to do because my throttle quadrant isn't quite as reliable as I'd like it to be, which is a real shame considering I have a pretty fancy one here actually. So Yeah, about that. Anyway, that's a different story. Just trying to sort of jiggle it in there. And that should give us an airspeed, an indicated talking issues again. An indicated airspeed of around 220 knots. And that's going to put us pretty close to our max for this altitude as well. As you can see, we're coming up, still climbing a little bit. It'll probably be just a little less than that because we're not quite at 2,230 RPMs. And because I'm having a little issue getting that left engine to even out with the right engine, you can see there that's probably going to go a little bit higher than the right engine now. See, so that's kind of a pain. Not what I wanted to do, but it just doesn't want to seem to even out there. The tiniest little bit of movement makes it jump around, and it's kind of annoying. Whatever, I'm going to deal with it. But that's it. That's our cruise checklist. Other than that, all we're doing is monitoring our engine instruments and our fuel gauges. So these are the engine instruments, obviously, and the fuel gauges over here. And really, we're just making sure we have even fuel flow, and of course that we don't run out of fuel. And if we had fuel in the auxiliary tank, as always, we'd monitor that first and make sure it's flowing evenly out of those tanks. So that's it. There's your cruise checklist, including your power tables. You can see the left engine has decided to over torque itself at 2,231 foot-pounds. I pulled it back just a hair there. I'm trying to even it out with the right engine. It probably won't ever get it there. I'll get as close as I can. We're looking good, so I will see you just before top of descent.
We're just checking. We're going to do an online on 26 for American 631. Is there anything wrong with the localizer ILS posted today? We didn't see it, but just checking.
American 631, all should be good.